I watched Daniel accept a crystal plaque for outstanding leadership, while I stood in the back of the gymnasium holding our daughter's backpack and a half-eaten juice box. The principal called him visionary. The parents called him dedicated. I called him nothing, because saying it out loud would make me the villain. It started 3 years ago, the week Sophia began kindergarten at Riverside Elementary. I had been working remotely as a freelance graphic designer, my schedule flexible enough to volunteer, just a few hours here and there, help with the fall festival, design some flyers, coordinate the teacher appreciation luncheon. Daniel worked in finance. Long hours, important meetings. He'd kiss Sophia goodbye before dawn and return after bedtime. His tie loosened, his expression weighted with the burdens of ambition. "Someone has to provide stability," he'd say, scrolling through his phone at the dinner table. I didn't argue. I simply showed up. I showed up to planning meetings held in the cafeteria that smelled like industrial disinfectant and childhood. I showed up with spreadsheets color-coded by task and deadline. I showed up with vendor proposals, budget breakdowns, and volunteer rotation schedules that ran like clockwork. The fall festival raised $12,000 that first year, triple the previous record. At the closing ceremony, PTA President Diane Sutherland had pulled Daniel aside. "Your wife is extraordinary," Diane said, her hand on his shoulder. "You must be so proud." Daniel smiled. "I just try to support her however I can." I was standing 6 feet away, holding a stack of recycling bins. I heard him. The second year, Diane stepped down due to a family relocation. The PTA needed a new president. "You should do it," I told Daniel one evening, folding laundry on our bed. He looked up from his laptop. "Me? You're good with people. You have the presence. I'll handle the back-end work like I always do. You just show up for meetings and presentations." It made sense. Daniel had the corporate polish, the confident handshake, the ability to make a 5-minute speech sound like a TED Talk. I had the plans. "Are you sure?" he asked, but his eyes were already bright with interest. Positive. He won the election unanimously. That was when the language started to change. "I'm organizing the spring fundraiser," Daniel announced at a board meeting, clicking through the slide deck I had built the night before. "I've coordinated with the vendor for the new playground equipment," he reported to the principal, holding the proposal I had spent 2 weeks negotiating. "I've scheduled the volunteers for the book fair," he said during a PTA update, reading directly from my shared spreadsheet. The word "we" disappeared. The phrase "my wife helped" evaporated. I became invisible infrastructure. Essential, unacknowledged, assumed. I told myself it didn't matter. The work was getting done. The kids were benefiting. Sophia was thriving in a school where parents cared, where events ran smoothly, where teachers felt supported. That was enough, wasn't it? The breaking point came on a Tuesday in late April. I was in the kitchen, responding to an email from the catering company about dietary restrictions for the year-end staff appreciation dinner. Sophia sat at the table, working on a math worksheet. Daniel walked in, phone pressed to his ear, his voice animated. "Absolutely, I can speak at the district conference," he said. "My approach to volunteer engagement has been pretty successful. Yes, I'd be happy to share my strategies." My fingers froze on the keyboard. His strategies, his approach, his success. I looked up. Daniel was leaning against the counter, smiling, nodding, soaking in the validation like sunlight. "I believe leadership is about vision," he continued. "When you cast a clear direction, people naturally follow." My throat tightened. I had written that exact phrase in a planning document 8 months ago, word for word. That night, after Sophia was asleep, I sat in the home office and opened my email archive. 3 years of correspondence, vendor negotiations, venue bookings, volunteer recruitment, budget tracking, crisis management when the petting zoo canceled 2 days before the spring carnival, problem solving when the yearbook printer delivered the wrong quantity. Every single critical decision, every detailed plan, every moment of actual leadership documented in emails sent from my account, rachel.morrison.design@gmail.com. Not Daniel's work email, not a shared PTA account, mine. I scrolled through hundreds of messages, threads with teachers, parents, local business owners, district administrators, my name in the from field again and again and again. My breath came shallow. I had built this. Every successful event, every smoothly executed program, every glowing review of the PTA's transformation under new leadership, I had built it and he had claimed it. The next evening, the PTA held a meeting to finalize Teacher Appreciation Week. I sat in my usual spot, 3 rows back, to the side, near the exit. Daniel stood at the front, his smile easy, his posture relaxed. "I want to thank everyone for their continued trust," he began. "This year, I've implemented several key initiatives." My nails dug into my palms. He clicked to the next slide, a timeline I had created, formatted in the brand colors I had chosen, using the font hierarchy I had designed. As you can see, my planning framework focuses on sustainability and scalability. A mother in the front row raised her hand. "Daniel, this is incredible. How do you manage all this with your job?" Daniel chuckled, self-deprecating, charming. "I won't lie, it's a lot, but when you care about something, you make the time." My vision blurred. I stood. Every head turned. "Excuse me," I whispered, and walked out. In the parking lot, I sat in my car with the engine off, hands shaking on the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Everything okay?" I stared at the words until they stopped making sense. Then I drove home, went into the office, and began to organize. Not for him, for myself. I stopped attending meetings. "I'm just swamped with client work," I told Daniel when he asked. He nodded, distracted, already reviewing talking points for an upcoming presentation to the school board. I continued doing the work, but differently. Every email I sent, I BCC'd myself on a separate archive account. Every document I created, I saved with metadata timestamps. Every vendor communication, every volunteer schedule, every budget revision, meticulously cataloged. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't tell anyone. I simply built an irrefutable record of authorship. At school pickup, other parents praised Daniel's leadership. "He's such a gem," said Vanessa Torres, a mother of twins. "I don't know how he does it all." I smiled. "He's very dedicated. You must be so proud." "I am," I said. My voice was calm. My hands didn't shake anymore. Daniel was selected to give the keynote address at the district's Volunteer Leadership Summit. He spent a week preparing, practicing his speech in the mirror, asking me for feedback on his delivery. "You sound great," I told him. He beamed. "This could be really good for my profile, LinkedIn content, maybe even a local news feature." "Absolutely." That night, I added 17 new emails to my archive. Teacher Appreciation Week arrived in early May. The final event was a dinner held in the school library, intimate, heartfelt, a chance for the staff to be celebrated by the community they served. Principal Victor Okafor had requested a brief ceremony to acknowledge the PTA's efforts. Daniel prepared remarks. I prepared nothing. I wore a navy dress, simple and elegant. I sat at a table near the back with Sophia, who was coloring on a spare napkin. The room filled with teachers, staff, board members, and PTA volunteers. Daniel stood at the podium, confident and composed. "Tonight is about gratitude," he began. "This year, we've accomplished something special together." I watched him, my expression neutral. He spoke about vision, about commitment, about the importance of servant leadership. The audience nodded, some taking notes. "And I want to thank my incredible team," Daniel continued, gesturing broadly to the room. "None of this happens without collaboration." Applause. I didn't clap. Principal Okafor took the podium next. "Thank you, Daniel," he said warmly. "Before we continue, I want to share something that came to my attention recently." Daniel smiled, expecting praise. Okafor adjusted his glasses. As part of our annual documentation review, I was going through correspondence related to PTA activities, and I noticed something interesting. He clicked a remote. The projector screen behind him illuminated. An email from rachel.morrison.design@gmail.com to Principal Victor Aquifer, subject Fall Festival Vendor Contracts Final Review, date September 14. This is one of over 200 emails I've received from Rachel Morrison over the past 3 years, Aquifer said. Detailed plans, budget proposals, volunteer coordination, problem solving in real time. Another click. Another email from rachel.morrison.design@gmail.com to Riverside Elementary staff, subject Teacher Appreciation Luncheon Dietary Preferences, date March 3. The room had gone silent. Aquifer continued, his tone measured, factual. In reviewing our records, I found that virtually every major PTA initiative, from event logistics to financial planning to vendor management, originated from Rachel's communications. Click. Another email. Another timestamp. Another piece of undeniable evidence. Daniel's smile faltered. I want to be clear, Aquifer said. Daniel has been an excellent public face for the PTA, but leadership is not just about presenting, it's about building. He turned to me. Rachel, would you please stand? I hesitated. Sophia tugged my sleeve. Mommy, he said your name. I stood slowly. Every face in the room turned toward me. Okafor smiled. I've been a principal for 19 years. I've worked with dozens of PTA boards. I have never seen someone operate with the level of detail, foresight, and care that you have brought to this school. My eyes burned. The teachers know. The staff knows. And now I wanted to make sure everyone else knows too. He began to clap. The teachers joined, then the staff. Then, slowly, awkwardly, the parents. I stood in the rising applause, my daughter's small hand in mine, my throat too tight to speak. Daniel sat frozen at the head table, his face pale, his crystal plaque suddenly, unbearably heavy. After the event, parents approached me. Some apologized, some thanked me. Some asked quietly why I'd never said anything. I didn't need to, I replied. The work speaks. Vanessa Torres, the mother of twins, stood in front of Daniel, her expression cold. I told you once that you were a gem, she said softly. I was wrong. She walked away. In the car, Daniel tried to explain. I didn't realize. Stop. Rachel, I thought we were a team. We were. You just didn't know which position you were playing. He went silent. I drove home, put Sophia to bed, and sat in the office. My archive remained open on the screen, a testament not to what was stolen, but to what was always mine. The following week, the PTA board held an emergency meeting. Daniel resigned. I was offered the presidency. I declined. I'm stepping back entirely, I told the board. I'll consult if needed, but I'm done building for other people's credit. They tried to convince me to stay. I simply smiled and left. 6 months later, I launched my own business, an event planning consultancy for schools and nonprofits. My client list filled within 3 weeks. Daniel still attended PTA meetings, sitting in the back, quiet and diminished. Sophia thrived. I rarely thought about crystal plaques. I thought about foundations, the invisible, essential structures that hold everything else up. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I had always been one. Not because anyone acknowledged it, but because the work was real.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.